Good afternoon, educators. Go ahead and get water. Go ahead and handle your business. We're going to get started in about 1 minute. All right, perfect. Welcome to our session. I know it has been a long day. You're tired. I'm tired. However, we're going to stretch our bodies, drink some water, and we're going to make this thing shake. So, welcome to the session. This session is all about creating great IEPs. We are all special educators, and we know the importance of writing an IEP and writing an IEP well. The most important section of that IEP is your present level of performance, and so that's what I'm going to talk with you all about today. Our big idea is that IEP present levels are quite possibly the most important part of the IEP. Literally everything after you write the present levels of performance is based off of what you put in those PLOPs. So when you write your goals for your student, when you are writing your supports, your accommodations, even what services you pick are based off of what you put into those IEP present levels. And so as an educator, and especially as a special educator and case manager, it is imperative that you know how to make sure that they are precise, logical, organized, and particular. Do you notice what I did there? Looks just like present levels of performance, right? Each letter is what? Okay. Okay, cool. So, yes, when you are writing your PLOPs, you want to make sure they are precise, logical, organized, and particular. We're going to go through each one and show you an example of how you can do that. So, when you keep your PLOPs precise, you want to tell exactly how the student performs, what things they do great in, what things they show an area of need for, but what was it exactly? Not just they need support with English or they need support with conventions. That doesn't tell anybody specifically what they need help with. When you're in doubt, read it out loud. Make sure that your present levels are also free of grammar errors. We are special educators. We're educators in general. We have to be a model of success for not just for ourselves, but for our students, for our parents, for our students. And so we have to make sure that we are doing our best at all times. So when you're writing these present levels, keep them precise. So stay away from general adjectives such as, oh, the student, he's great. He did good. He's good in math. Like, that does not tell me anything. Don't say, oh, he could be better at this. Like, how could he be better? Be specific, be precise. So let's look at this example. In this example, you see for the student in ELA, it says that he can identify nouns, verbs, subjects, and predicates. That tells you exactly and precisely what he can do. That's a great thing, not only for you as an educator, but for his parent. So his parent can see when he's at home, what can she do to support him? Keep things specific to help them out. Next thing you want to do is keep your present levels of performance logical. Everybody says logical. We know what logic means. But when you're thinking about writing this, educators get in a really bad habit of using a lot of jargon and words that, like, if you're not in education, you would have no idea what it means. So when you are writing your present levels, keep them logical. Keep them simple. Like, do you really need to mention that he needs support with standard RI6? No, because do you know what RI6 is off the top of your brain? Probably not. Does the parent know what RI6 is off their brain? Probably not. But does the parent know what critical thinking is and the main idea? Yes. So instead of putting RI6, put what it actually is. So you want to stop and think about what is relevant to input and what makes sense. And you want to avoid jargon as much as possible. And if you do include jargon, add an extra step in to help the people read it and make sure it's logical. So for example, this is taken from a psych evaluation. And right here it says that it has the score that the student got, but it also says that the scores between this and this are considered average. So that somebody can know, okay, he got this. What does this mean? This means he might be in the average range. He might be above average, he might be below average. But it gives everybody a good sense of how to move forward. Keep your PLOPs organized. I cannot say this enough. Y'all know how stressful it is when you just get a big old chunk of text. You don't know what's happening. You don't know what's going on. You have to decipher through what's going on. Keep your PLOPs organized, y'all. Spaces and indents are your best friend. And if you are cutting and pasting from another psych evaluation, like a previous one, actually go through and read it and see what you actually need, what's still relevant today. You may not need things from 6 years ago if they're in the 7th grade. Like what happened in 1st grade may not be relevant today. So you want to make sure that you are reading what you're putting. You want to make sure that you are keeping it organized by using spaces and indents. So look at this example. You see, we have different spaces. I use lines to separate the different parts of the evaluation. So the parts that are pulled from their actual academic grades are separate from how they performed on learning platforms, which are separate from how they performed on standardized testing. Keep things separate with lines. If you use spaces, use indents. They're your best friend. Lastly, keep your PLOPs particular. Remember, this is for the kids, so you want to gather as much information as possible. This is kind of specific. This relates also to being precise, but you want to have as much information. You want to be able to create a great picture in your mind of how students are. So use everything as a source of data. They did homework, put that in there. If they did Alexia, put that in there. Put all of the sources that you can gather about your student in there so that 10 years from now, somebody can read that and understand exactly how that child was performing in that year. So for example, you see right here, I pulled a student's Alexia levels. I pulled their Zern levels, different learning platforms that they did on the computer, and put exactly how they did and when, so that their mom can read and understand, another teacher can, an administrator can, anybody can, and get a great holistic picture of that student. All right, so wrapping up, again, your PLOPs should take up the majority of your labor. When you're writing your IEP, you should not be spending that much time on other sections. Spend the most time on your PLOPs. Because again, everything after you do your PLOPs is based off of what you put in there. So your goals that you create, your supports, your accommodations, all those things are based off of it. So make sure that you can visualize the student from the data you inputted. Make sure it's parent friendly. We want our parents to be advocates for their students and for their children, for their community. Make sure that they can actually do that. And make sure that it's free from grammatical errors. We have to be a model and a steward of success for our communities. It starts with making sure things are logical and grammar free. All right, so we're going to wrap up right now. Thank you so much for your time, guys. If you have any questions, drop it in the chat below, and I'll be more than happy to talk and answer. I know I talked a lot right now, so I'm excited